Welcome to what is this? November 4th live. I can't believe it's November already. Like it how did it become November already? Whew, man. Um 2025. Jeez. That's just crazy. I I am really so bad at keeping track of the passage of time because I was reminded this week that my husband and I went to Japan last year and not the year before that. This whole time in my brain, for some reason, I was like, yeah, we went in 2023. And it's like 6 months after, like, like 5 months after my husband's accident. No, that's insane. Like, he would not have been able to walk that much. No, we went last year, which is where I got this planner, this 2025 planner. I got this in Japan. For those of you who don't know, I love to keep a paper planner, and I have done so for years. And you could tell by all the little letters that it's from Japan. I mean, there's very little written in it, so it's not like I need it to be in English. It's just numbers of dates and stuff, but it's like, I know, I'm a mess. Hello, Ellen. How are you? I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. I had a 48-hour cold situation. So this is what happened. So once upon a time, when I did not get flu shots, I would be laid up for a week on my butt with body chills and aches and everything. And now I get a flu shot every year, so I get a 48-hour cold, which is like a million times better. And like even the cold itself is not as severe as pre-flu shot. So now I get my flu shot every year, but I do get sick for a little bit. Okay. Hello, Rachel. Hello, Gabrielle. Hello, Gallo. um yes. Ellen says hi to Rachel. Yeah, you should be friends. You should all be mingling and talking to one another, especially those of you who are regulars to my live stream and to the comment section of my recorded videos, both here and on the main channel. It's called networking, and it's called making friends, which I always say when you're networking, the goal is to make friends. The goal is to network and do work with and do business with people that you are friendly with, and not just mercenaries. This is why people feel kind of gross when they're networking, because they feel like a mercenary, like they do anything for money, anything for hire. But for me, I don't really particularly feel gross networking, because I am always trying to make genuine connections with people and engage with people that I actually like spending time with. Not that they have to be like deep down dirty, like ride or die homies for the rest of my life, but just like actual friendships, people I like talking with, share somewhat of a shared worldview, that sort of thing. And so when you are networking and you're focusing on connecting with people on a much more friendly, broad strokes basis, you tend to feel less weird about it, because it's not just like, you know, how can you serve me in my life? It's not just a matter of, oh, okay, so this person does this thing and this thing and this thing, and this is how, like, you should catalog, like, oh, this is Mary. Mary is a pattern maker. Let's remember that, instead of like, oh, what kind of pattern maker can I use her later? Oh, she does swimwear and I don't like swimwear, so I don't care. Like, so go make friends. Okay. Uh, Everyone's saying hi to each other in the comments. I love it. Everyone say hi to each other. Gallo says, I like to have conversations versus networking. True. True. Okay. So, oh man. Okay. So I was reading threads this morning, like I usually do, and I saw this. I've been seeing this a lot recently, and I'm so over it. This whole like, am I too old to wear this? And am I too old to wear that? Or other people judging other people for, am I too old for this? And am I too old for that? So I am going to be doing a live stream on ageism in fashion next week. I have a topic for today, so I'm not going to go off the rails too much, but I will say that I am 45 years old. I'm turning 46 next month, and you could pry a matte red lip from my cold, dead hands. Okay? Literally, no one will ever tell me that I am too old for a matte red lip. Are you freaking kidding me? Ugh. Anybody who says, like, oh, you're too old for this or you're too old for that, I'm not as bad as my brother. I'm not as bad as my brother, but I do have a contrarian streak. My dad used to call me Tongeuri when I was a kid. And I do have a contrarian streak. So if somebody says I can't do something, I'll be like, watch me. I'm pretty sure I get it from my dad. So the fact that he would give me guff for being like that, like when you hear about like parent-child relationships and how sometimes they don't get along because they're too alike. That's me and my dad. Like we got along, especially as we got older, but the things that we would butt heads on would be because we were too alike. And you know what? If he were alive, he would begrudgingly agree with me. All right. So today I want to talk about follow the money and what that means for us in fashion as people who are making things and also hiring people to make things. And it's funny because I actually was tagged in a post regarding pricing. Somebody had posted the pricing that they received from a designer for their services. And they were like, what do y'all think? Do you think this is too expensive? Not expensive? Like, is this a red flag? And so I didn't see it, but somebody had tagged me. And so I do want to, it was very well timed that I could take a look at it. So yeah. Here's the main thesis of today. Okay. If you're not paying for a service, then you're not the customer. Okay. If you are getting something for free, then you are not the customer, and therefore the service provider is not incentivized to care about you and to cater to your needs. And I mean that in every sense of the word, literally in every industry all over the world. We are going to focus on fashion. Fashion is my area of expertise, so I tend to stick to my lane. But a lot of what I have to say about it can be used in other areas of your life, other industries. Okay. People complain a lot about the way social media is, and oh, I don't like this and I don't like that. It's like, when was the last time you paid for social media? It's the people who pay for social media that are getting what they want, which means people who advertise, namely, are the ones who are, and the more advertising you buy, the more your preferences matter. People who only use social media just primarily as a looking around, hanging out, talking to your friends sort of thing, and never pay for anything, your preferences are at the bottom of the pile. People are always going to cater to the people who are buying ads. Okay. And so when you get like a price sheet from a factory, like you contact a factory and you're like, hey, I want to do this, and this with you. Do you do this, and this service? And how much do you charge for that? Okay. And they'll say, oh, you don't have to pay for this. You don't have to pay for this. You don't have to pay for this. And then you get all excited don't get excited. Okay, get curious. Get curious as to why there are things that you don't have to pay for. Okay, this is a big deal. All right. Um, so I'm just going to use this reference because sorry, ambulance. I learned over the summer that I am oh so conveniently located not too far from a hospital. And it's like a full fledged hospital with an emergency room. So I do get more ambulances than your average person. I mean, it's convenient for me because I have had to take my husband to the ER, but yeah, so all right. Let me rewind a little bit. The original reason why I wanted to talk about this today is because I have had clients. So for those of you who don't know, couldn't hear it so good, Mike. All right, let me know if you're having problems hearing me. I'm using the same setup as before, so everything should be good, but let me know if you cannot hear me. Oh, the ambulance? Oh, okay. That's good. Yeah, this is a very directional microphone, so you should not be hearing things that are like out there, but I hear it like so loudly that sometimes I can't talk because I hear the ambulance so loud, but I'm glad you can't hear it. So sometimes, for those of you who don't know, I do have a private consulting business. You can go to my website for the link to book an appointment, but people contact me when they are starting or they have a small fashion business and they have questions and we have conversations about their business. And you know, for example, I had one client who was like, "Okay, so I have this idea for these clothes, and I was talking to this guy, and he knows a factory in X country, and he also lives in X country. I'm in the US, but he's over in X country, and he's going to be my go-between because he speaks the language of X country. And so, he's going to get the blouses made, and he says, I don't have to pay for this, and I don't have to pay for this, and I don't have to pay for this." And I'm like, "Why not?" She's like, "I don't know. They just said I don't have to." And I'm like, "Is that an introductory deal to get your business, or is this forever?" Because, there's a lot of services that do a 1 week free trial just to get you in the door, which I understand. I just signed up for Viki because, I love a K-drama and they have a 1 week free trial. So is it like that, or is it like forever you don't pay sampling? Why don't you pay for sampling? Because here's the thing is if you don't pay for it, you don't get to own it. Like if you're not paying for a pattern, here's what happens. If you're not paying for a pattern, it's because of a couple of different things. Number one, they already have a pattern for that, which means your idea is not particularly original. It might be that later on, as your design develops, as your fit develops, it's different because you're catering to a different audience. But like, let's say you want to do a hoodie and they already have a hoodie pattern. And if you don't do anything to make it special, then that's on you. So they have a hoodie pattern. And therefore, if they have a hoodie pattern and you want to make a hoodie and you're not paying for a pattern because they already have the pattern, then it goes to follow that you should not be paying that much for a tech pack. Okay. You should be paying for sampling because they're cutting and sewing new fabric according to your fabric specs, but they're not making a new pattern. That also means you don't own that pattern. You don't get to, like, if you're not later on, if you are making a lot of pattern corrections, like you've changed the style so much, you've changed the fit so much that you're making a lot of corrections and you're paying for those corrections, then you need to see if you can own the pattern. That's the thing, is you have to wonder who owns the pattern. Because if you don't pay for the pattern in some way, you don't own the pattern, which means the factory can do whatever they want with that pattern. I mean, they kind of can anyway, because It is what it is. But the reason you want to own the pattern is you want a copy of that pattern so that you can always have it. And they'll digitize the pattern and they'll send you a file, and maybe you can't even open it because you don't have the pattern making software to open the file. It doesn't matter. Because the key is, if you pay for a pattern and the corrections and everything, and you got that pattern right, and then it turns out that you don't want to keep working with the factory, you don't have to start from scratch. You can take your hoodie pattern and you could talk to another pattern maker, another factory, and be like, I already developed a sample. So, I would like you to make it. So, can you make me another sample so that we can start from there? Okay. So, it's very annoying. And I know we want to get stuff for free, but just always keep in mind that you have to pay for stuff. Otherwise, you don't get to own it. And when you pay for stuff, you get to demand things that, I say demand in a polite way, but you get to demand things be done expressly to you because you're paying for it. Okay. When you pay for stuff, you hold the power for things. And so you get to ask for all these corrections. And that's what it is at the end of the day. A couple weeks ago, somebody was talking about, oh, yeah, it was me. I was talking about how everyone should hire a stylist. I was saying that instead of buying just a bunch of garbage, if you are trying to figure out your wardrobe, instead of just like going all trial and error and running around like a chicken with its head chopped off, chicken, okay? One of my Patreon students bought me this chicken mug, and you should hire a stylist, because a stylist will metaphorically clear out your closet and help you figure out your style and the fits and the colors that work for you and help you shop. Okay. And so it kind of gives you a framework to work off of for future purchases. And every stylist has their own style. Like, I have a girlfriend who, her customer base is a lot of very rich corporate types who need to look really put together in a more conservative way in an office setting. And they just need to make it easy in the morning. Like, that's her clientele, and that's kind of the look that she caters to. And that's kind of the price point of the clothes that she shops for these people. And then I have another stylist friend who is more colorful and fun and a little bit more free flow than something like people need to go to the office every day, And so somebody was asking about, well, do you have any advice on how to find the right stylist? And I said, find one that works with your aesthetic for your needs, because everyone has kind of like their aesthetic and area of expertise. And so if you need somebody for work, find someone who does work clothes, etc. And then the other thing is, you want to find someone who actually charges more, because then you're the customer. Okay, okay, who is this? You need to stop. I don't even know what you're saying. There we go. And there are stylists out there that work based on commission. Like, they have deals with brands where the more you buy from a brand, like the stylist will buy all this stuff from a brand and they get a cut of everything that the client buys for their wardrobe. You don't want a stylist like that, because they're not 100% invested in your closet, your needs. They're also invested in how much they can get you to buy from a particular brand so that they can make a commission. Okay. This is kind of like, but a little bit different from sales staff at a store, where of course they want you to buy so that they can make the commission, but with that situation, it's more bald. It's more obvious. Like you go into the store, you know the sales staff is going to make commission, so you know that their goal is to make money off the commission and the sale. So they are going to encourage you to buy more. So you kind of always know that going in. It's not like a secret. But yeah, there are stylists who work like that. And so, it might be like they have like a sweet introductory deal or their services aren't as expensive. You should go ahead and ask why they're not as expensive as other people. And you can say like, do you make commission off of any brands? And if you feel like they're pushing a particular brand down your throat, just be like, why? And if they say something like, oh, I just think the quality's better, I'm like, okay, then show me specifically. You don't have to get antagonistic about it, but you can ask those kinds of questions because you're the client. So follow the money, who's getting paid, who's doing the paying. And if it seems too good to be true, it probably is, because you need to pay for stuff. And if you're not paying for stuff, someone else is paying them. Case in point, social media. So, yeah. Just take a break and look at some comments. Okay. There's a lot of people saying hi to each other. Okay, people saying the sound is fine. Rachel says, I read somewhere if something is free without you having to pay for a product, it means you are the product. You are the product. Yeah. All these people who are buying ads on Facebook, Meta, whatever, then you are not the one. Then you're getting the ads served to you. Because, yeah, you're being pitched constantly. Oh, my God. Like, a couple of times a year on Facebook, I do this thing. I have a private Facebook where it's just friends I know in real life only. And of course, I have like a public facing Facebook page for Zoe Hong. But a couple times on my personal, my private Facebook, I'll be like, y'all, I don't even know what's going on. There's so many ads on my page. How are you? What's going on? Like, say hi. Like, let's say hi to each other. Like, I can't. I have to like filter out so many ads to see what you guys are up to. And it's always a good time because they always hear like they always. This is my favorite thing. Is there are some things that people they don't feel really great about announcing publicly on their own page because they have a mixed crowd, but those specific people are not on my Facebook page. And so they will say things like, oh, it's the holiday season over here and my mother-in-law is driving me crazy. What else is new? And they will not be posting that on their Facebook because they have to be connected to their mother-in-law on Facebook because of family relations. And so like I always get the tea. I highly recommend y'all do the same if you are on Facebook or something like that, where you're just like, what's going on with you guys? Like, and they'll tell you some wackadoo stuff. Like I have a friend who is a yoga teacher and she has a lot of her clients on her Facebook page. And so, when I do these calls, like, what's going on? Somebody will be like, oh, just hot yoga with 40 ladies. And it's like, it's always a good time. I recommend it. Okay. Natasha says if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Facts. Okay. Gallo says definitely worth it to get solid classics. Yeah, stylists are worth the investment to build a framework. Doesn't really necessarily have to be about getting classics. It can be about trying to figure out what your fun stuff is and where it fits in as well. It's not really about it's about investing in your style and in your wardrobe, but it doesn't necessarily have to be about buying investment pieces. It's a different thing. Okay. Martina. Hello, Zoe. Hello. And then, okay. Can you raise your voice a bit? Okay. Great insight. Thank you, Gallo. Okay. FB is something else, Gallo says. Yeah. Natasha says the ad takeover is getting intense. It is. It is. It is so crazy. Like I I mean, Facebook as a product is terrible, but I enjoy Facebook because it's just the only place where I can get a hold of my friends because my social media has been kind of run over by this very public work thing that I do. And it was like I used to have two Twitter accounts, one that was public facing and one that was just for friends. And I mean, not to post anything nefarious, but just I just want to chit chat with my friends sometimes and just say whatever and not have to be like a thing, like a very public thing that people comment on because I have learned that there are sometimes sometimes I cannot even say one little thing before people jump down my throat just judging because I forgot a thing. And so sometimes I just want to be relaxed in a personal space and, talk about things that are personal to me that have nothing to do with fashion. And sometimes I enjoy the smaller audience, like thousands of people follow me on every platform. And that sounds like a humble brag. I am proud of how I've been able to build up my social media accounts for the work that I do, but sometimes I just want to say something without it being a thing. So it's like but yeah, so I don't use Twitter anymore. So Facebook is like all I have left where it's just me finding out about my friends and me talking about how I made banana bread and sharing my favorite banana bread recipe. If anyone is curious, my favorite baking blog is Sally's Baking Addiction. There is not a single recipe I've made from Sally's that isn't absolute fire. Um, Her stuff is so good. And I my second favorite baking blog, it's a cooking and baking blog, is Smitten Kitchen. Like I've made Smitten Kitchen's mom's apple cake recipe like 100 times. It's so good. Anyway, I'm just saying. Okay. So where was I? I don't know. Y'all are so nice to me that sometimes I just kind of go off and y'all just accept my ADHD meanderings. I was talking to a friend this weekend and I was telling him, like, what I like talking, like, why I like talking to you? Because, like, baseline, I'm a decent person, like just baseline, I'm a decent person. So anything I say, you always give me the benefit of the doubt that I'm not a complete psycho. Like, even though it may start off sounding kind of psycho, like I have to have a good reason why I got really mad about something, or, like something might start off weird, but once I explain it, it makes more sense. Like, we all need friends and people in our lives where you can just say shit and it doesn't have to be this like kind of judgmental sort of thing. So, anyway. Let me just scroll through some comments really quick. Natasha says, I saw a joke reel about movies in 2070 being with ads and the ad free experience being sold at outrageous costs. We are getting there. It's like right now, YouTube has ads on every video, right? But the settings on the back end, like your video has to be at least 8 minutes long for YouTube to insert a mid-roll video, right? Like in the middle of the video. And I do not think I think I have like maybe 3 videos on my main channel that are shorter than 8 minutes. YouTube shorts don't count. I mean like regular videos. But yeah, like you have to have some sort of limit on that. It's crazy. Absolutely nuts. Okay. Natasha says, as you deserve, but I don't know what that is in reference to. So I'm just going to pretend Natasha thinks I deserve the world. Ha. Gallo says, it's interesting how complicated it is to connect with friends. I experience the same double-edged sword, the social media, because it is a great marketing tool. Yeah, okay, I'm going to be real with you for a second. I am going through some career upheaval right now, and I'm just feeling really unstable. Um, I started this channel on the 10-year anniversary of my main channel, and I wanted to start my own brand. And I don't know, I've been floundering because, after the initial excitement of the new thing wore off, and I'm getting more into the weeds of what that's going to look like, I just don't want to make content anymore. Like, I just want to do work. I just want to sit in my cave. Okay. I don't know if you can see, but that's my illustration table back there. I just want to sit in my cave and oh, I had a box of swatches over there. Like, have my swatches, have my cave, I have my cutting table in the other room, like just work on things and not worry about filming stuff. And for those of you who don't know, I've been a one woman show with the occasional contractor the entire time. And so I just want to do the work and not make content. But the thing is if I disappear off the internet and then I'm like, hey, who wants to buy my stuff? No one's going to, everyone will forget. The internet has the most short-term memory ever, which is why content creators have to constantly be making content, which is why anyone who wants to market their stuff, that they're making, even if they're not a content creator, but if they're making chairs, if they're making clothes, they have to constantly be on social media to remind people that they exist and that they have stuff coming out and they should be buying stuff, blah, blah, blah. And, when I talk to business clients who want to do slow fashion, who want to do very minimal product, like they're not interested in creating 80 outfit collections 4 times a year, which I applaud them for. They're like, how do I stay relevant? And it's like, I just think that, Lakin and I in the runway review video last month, the group talked about seasonless dressing and seasonless collections and what that's kind of look like in the future. But for a long time, I have been telling and toying with the idea of just not having collections at all with direct to consumer. See, the fashion cycle with the whole New York Fashion Week, Paris Fashion Week, all, that whole wholesale business side of things. So when people say fashion business, they do mean like that wholesale thing where they have the seasons and the cycles and like all that set up. And when you look at the fashion business, like they have seasons because buyers have buying calendars they're open to buy. Like they have times when they have the budget to order things, and there are times that they do not. When buyers say we're not open to buy right now, like that's what they mean is they have used up their budget for that season to buy product for X delivery dates, And so, but direct to consumer brands are not beholden to these calendars. Okay. So when I say that D2C have all this agility, what I mean is they can move at whatever pace that they want. And it could be as fast as they want, it could be as slow as they want. And so I'm like, don't even bother with seasons. Like, why don't you just do a dress a week? So you're constantly putting out new stuff, but it's not like new collection, new collection, new collection, new collection. Okay. Maybe you just do one new, like it's not like a big drop. Okay. Instead of albums, you release singles, which is funny because that's kind of where the music industry is going or has been going for a long time. You know, people talk about who's doing albums now, and like people would make fun of Rihanna because she only did singles, and now everyone's just dying for her to make any kind of music. She's not doing music, y'all. She makes too much money off makeup. She ain't doing it. She's having fun with her kids and her man and making all that money off of makeup. She's not making music, okay? But anyway, so it's like singles versus collections versus, you know, albums. And so not everyone needs to do an album. You could do a single. You can drop a dress a week. And it doesn't even have to be like a brand new thing. It can just be 1 week, it can be just new colorways of an existing style. Okay, so when I say one dress a week, I don't mean like it has to be a brand new thing that you developed from scratch. And it can just be maybe a new iteration of an older thing with a younger, shorter hemline for summer, something like that. You know, kind of like an evolution as opposed to just constant drops. And the thing is, that doesn't mean you have to like design one every week. It can just be that you design these collections, but you just drop them one at a time as development happens, as you perfect things, so that you're always staying relevant in people's minds. Um, a little bit like that, like how people will do an album, but then they'll have singles off the album, and then they'll do a new music video for one of the songs from that album, and then that'll be like the hit for a while. That's the single that they'll publicize. That's the track that they'll be playing at, you know, that they'll be performing everywhere they go. And then they'll move on to the next single on their album, you know, kind of like that. I of course, there's no such thing as a perfect industry, but in terms of the creation cycle in the music industry, I find that more tenable. I know a bunch of musicians are going to disagree with me, but that's because y'all are spoiled brats who don't know what it's like to churn out big old collections every other month. So shut your face, okay? But the way musicians make music, they have more time to play with themes and to create, and they come out with albums and they issue singles, and they have time to make music videos. Like, of course they do that kind of like all like a package in advance for the big marketing thing where they have like the album drops and the music video for their first single drops, like that sort of thing. But then they have time to make kind of like let people listen to the album, and then they'll figure out, oh, people are really gravitating towards one particular song, and then they'll issue a new music video. They'll make a new music video kind of based on what people are kind of buzzing about and release that. So again, how did we get here? Anyway, let me look at the comments, okay? Natasha says not everyone's 2 cents should weigh the same. Again, I don't know what that's in reference to, but that is so true. Rachel says, I love Sally's baking addiction. Small world. Listen, it's not even a small world, because if she doesn't have 7 billion followers and fans, that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, okay? Her lemon blueberry cake has my husband in such a chokehold, okay? So the banana bread I made is the one that's called my favorite banana bread recipe. And I like it because it's less sweet. You know how Sally, she does all these notes on all the variations you can make, all the ingredient substitutions that actually work and don't work, all these things. And so in the notes, she says, if you want to make it sweeter, you can add a 1/4 cup more sugar. But I like how mildly sweet it is. And I do add the chopped nuts and the chopped chocolate chunks, like dark chocolate. It's so good. Anyways, yes. Gallo says Zoe is badass and always love how she calls them like she sees them. Gallo says same. I'm calling it my intermission, the elevator music in the background. Gallo says the artist creator life. Love that. The creative dream is so relatable. I just don't want like I'm gonna be so true with you right now. I don't want to finish this leather tank top, and it's not because I'm feeling defeated about the lining. Okay, that was embarrassing how much I messed up the lining, but it's not even about that. It's like my brain has already moved on. Okay, my brain's already moved on. Karl Lagerfeld was famous for never looking back, and he's which bio? Maybe it was The Beautiful Fall, where Karl Lagerfeld was talking about how he would be interviewed backstage at fashion shows, like after the runway show, and they want to talk about the show that he just put out, and how he would be annoyed because he's like, "That's the past. I already showed that. I already did that. I'm already looking to the next collection," and that's probably the only thing relatable about Karl Lagerfeld to me, because I think he's a terrible person. And so whatever. But yeah, like I've been staring at this tank for so long that I'm over it. Like I'm so over it. I'm like, what do you mean I have to finish it for my audience? Who cares? It's like, am I even going to wear it? Of course I am. I know when it's done, I will be happy to wear it, but I don't like I don't want to film it. I don't care anymore. But like I still like dragged out my fusible so that I could talk about how you have to test your fusible on your self fabric before you fuse anything, just in case it looks too funny. And sometimes fabrics are too thin and the glue shows through. And so you always have to listen. When I was working in the industry, I remember there was this place called STC. I don't even know if they're still around, Security Textiles. And all they did was fusible interfacing. And you would send them like a yard or two of your fabric that you wanted to fuse, and they would send back these sample folders where they would have cut up your fabric into like squares like about yay big, and then they would fuse half of it with very like the top half with various styles of fusing, like from very stiff to very very thin. And you had the tricots, you had the non-wovens, like that sort of thing. And so that you could see and you could pick out for yourself what fusible you wanted for a particular fabric. And then of course they had the style number for the fusible. And so you would go through your folder and be like, okay, I want this thickness for this style because I need this stiffness to create this look or whatever. And then I want something really soft and light, like the very finest tricot jersey fusible, because we want the drape, we just need it a little bit thicker. Like, and I miss that. I don't think they're in business anymore, which is sad because I loved working with them. They were so great. Anyway, it's one of those things that I wish fabric stores did more of, but I'm aware that they don't have the demand for it because not everyone knows about all the fusibles that are out there, available out there, and how much they can impact. And if people were more invested in fusibles, there would be a larger selection of them at fabric stores. But as it is, sometimes they have like one. Like they have one basic non-woven fusible, and it's like, that's it. And it comes in white. And it's so ugly and stiff. And their glue dots are so fat, they go right through the fabric. Anyway. Yeah. It's hard to turn teacher mode off when I'm talking. That's why these videos always like, even on the new channel where I just want to make things, I end up being a teacher because when I'm talking, it's easier to default into teaching than to try to explain my creative process. Because here's the thing about creative process and mood boards and all of that is there are a lot of people out there who are like, why do I need to learn this? I know designers who work in the real world and they don't do this. Of course they don't. They don't have time, okay? And if they had the time, they would, okay? But they don't. The point of learning how to gather inspiration images and how to collage them and how to do sketchbook development and how to pull motifs and how to pull colors and how to pull prints in like agonizing small steps, step by step by step by step by step. The whole point of me teaching that and you learning that is that when you get to a point where you're a working designer, you are doing this in your, like, you are taking this and doing it in your brain rapid fire. Okay. So that when you are an assistant designer, kind of like low level on the ladder designer in the beginnings of your career, and your design director is like, this is our mood board, here are inspiration images, fire away. The whole point is, okay, they gave you the direction, they gave you a few sentences on kind of the mood, they gave you, a lot of the time they'll also give you the fabric board because they've already worked out the deals for like how much they're going, like the price point of their fabrics. Okay, because figuring out your fabrics is as much a business decision as it is a creative decision because of the price points involved. And they're like, you have to use these fabrics and this is the inspiration, here's their color story, now go make bodies. Okay, so you go make bodies, but all that collaging and extrapolating and motif building and print development that you learn, because you've practiced it a few times in your own sketchbook, you should be able to do it a lot faster in your brain so that when you get that assignment at work, you're not sitting there agonizingly like X-Acto knifing magazines apart. You're like pop, 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 in your brain. And I've been doing this stuff for 100,000 years, right? And so it's really hard for me to slow down to do that process. Like when I had to do that process for my book, I mean, it was fun because I really enjoyed working on the book, but the actual designing of it, like, I feel like my designs are not as good as they could be because I'm stopping myself. Like teaching design and designing are completely different things. And so the leaps that I make in my brain and on my sketchbook as I'm going do not make sense to people outside my brain. The process of it makes sense to other designers, working designers who've been doing this for a while, because they also make those leaps really fast in their brain because they've also been like, they've already like, oh, this is what I'm thinking. So pop, pop, pop. And then they get the sketch and you're like, so when I'm teaching it, I have to connect the dots for you visually, but in my head, I've already connected the dots. I don't want to explain the dots. I'm like, this is where I ended up and that is what it is. But that's not a good example to present to students. That's why I have this separate channel. And, I have actually been struggling with the idea of closing this channel and going back to my main channel and just reposting all these videos here. Cause I'm like, did I need another channel? But it's like, the whole point of this channel was to just not teach, but just to crank it and not have to explain how fast my brain works when it comes to design development and my ideas. So I think, I promise I will finish that stupid leather tank. But after that, I think I'm just going to like stop trying to teach because, again, like I've really veered off course on that and just make stuff. And if you can't figure out what I'm doing, then the teaching is I mean, the email over there is teaching@zoehong.com. The email for this channel is designing@zoehong.com. It's like, it's different. And you'll see how different I am as a teacher versus a designer. Like design while I'm teaching versus designing just, I don't care who needs to learn something. I'm just going to design stuff. How did this become a therapy session for me? I'm going to call these live streams Zoe's therapy sessions. I rant about things I don't like in the industry. I tell you all my career woes. Like I tell you every time anybody in my personal life pisses me off. I also tell you things that I enjoy. Who watched the TikToks from Cinnamon Blaze? Who watched that reunion story? I loved it. Okay. All right. Natasha says, you will endure this. Don't give up. Keep pivoting and you will find your path. Can you hire someone to make content for you? I'm thinking about it. I just have trust issues when it comes to hiring. The last time I hired anyone long term, they failed me so miserably. Um, yeah, I was really sad about that. I was sad about the poor choice I made, and I was sad about the money I spent. But yeah, I am thinking about it. I am thinking about it. Okay, Lori Bledsoe. Hello, hello. Rachel says, I definitely be bummed if you stop making content, but I understand if you did do what's best for you. Yeah. Only when I'm really cranky am I like, I'm going to delete everything and just shut it all down. Here's what, listen, and like, I had a series of some interesting conversations this weekend. And one of them was talking about sandwich generation, how I am in the sandwich generation where most women in their 40s are raising kids while taking care of ailing parents. And I am not. And because both my parents are dead. My mother died when I was 13 and my father died when I was 39. And so both my parents have passed away from cancer, FU cancer. And so I don't have parents to take care of. I don't have any, I'm not close to any older relatives to take care of. And I don't have any kids. And not having kids was a decision I made a long time ago. And part of that was because I had to take care of my younger siblings from such a young age. I was put in a caretaker role for so long that as an adult, I was like, I don't want to take care of anything. I don't think you guys understand how much I love cats and little kittens and little puppies, and how much of my personal social media feed are kitten videos. It's an extraordinary percentage, and they make me so happy. But I do not want to get a cat because then I would have to take care of it. How like I gave away all my plants when I moved down to LA. Like I cannot take care of anything. I don't want to take care of anything. And but now what I really want to do is delete my entire presence from the internet and go incognito and take a master pattern cutting class, like a really advanced one somewhere. Um and register under a fake name and just try to be like, maybe dye my hair and just try to be as incognito as possible and just take like a really intensive pattern cutting course, or like, like a really weird avant-garde fashion design class from someone, and maybe just travel the world. Like I'm living my life backward. Like the things that most women do in their 40s, I did as a teenager. And now I'm like, I want to go to grad school. I want to like, live life without consequences, without taking care of people, without internet, without anything, just like be anonymous and incognito and just run around and be creative. And, like I'm like Benjamin Button, but mentally, not physically. So yeah. Natasha, I'll never forget you've been watching you for 10 years. Thank you. I wish more of the internet were like you, but unfortunately. Lori says, I hate seasonal collections. South Texas, South Florida don't even have seasons. Uh, yeah. I mean, I've lived in California since I was 18. And so, like, um, when I lived in the Bay Area, we used to joke that the Bay Area has 4 seasons: morning, noon, evening, and night. Like, that's the curve of all the seasons. Like, we don't really have seasons. And I've never had to like put things away in storage. Like, I started buying a few winter clothes when I started traveling more in my 30s. And so I do have like some winter things, but it's like, it's California. Like, I live in LA now. Like, it's even more so. Lori says, I could do a dress a week. Thank you for the idea. Please take this idea and run. Anytime I present an idea, please take them and run with it. You know, anytime I say, I think this is a good idea, like I stand behind that. Go make it work. I think just not doing these collections, because it's also a cash flow thing. I think on a business angle, it's also a good idea because we put all this, like, if you do these huge collections, it's a cash flow issue. You can only do huge collections when you have a lot of capital, like a lot of what these like wholesale brands everywhere from Valentino, Gucci, you know, even like smaller New York brands like Sandy Ling, like you have to have a lot of capital to do a big sampling of a collection and then do a big production run, which is also why wholesalers, they divide them into deliveries. Like these styles will be available, will ship out January. These styles will be shipping out in February. That's also to break up the production money. A lot of it is cash flow. So if you're doing a dress a week, not to say that you should break up your collection that small, okay, because that's probably going to be more expensive, but to break up like production into like 1 month chunks would probably work to your cash flow advantage. Okay. Rachel says, interesting thought about not doing seasons. I love when people think of ways to reinvent the rules. When I say slow fashion, I mean it. But like also at the same time, like, and I don't think that we should be chasing every trend, but every once in a while there will be a trend that really hits your demographic hot. And so when you are D2C and you have that agility, you have the ability to strike while the iron's hot. When you sense like this rising tide and like everybody's doing neon and you're like, I want to capitalize on that. That works for my customer. I think my customer would really love the neon. Let me bust out my most popular silhouettes and run it in a couple of neon colors. And like, because you're agile, because you're D2C, you have the ability to turn that around really quick and just capitalize on that moment. I love a neon, okay, as you can see. So Ellen says, I live in West Texas and it was 83 yesterday. I don't need any fall clothes. For sure. Listen, last week, LA had a heat wave. And yeah, granted, it was not the usual LA temperatures, but we got up to 94 in the middle of our heat wave last week of October. That's bananas, okay? It's bananas. Sonder Spirits, I'm struggling finding what I want to do with music. I'm working on getting better at music, but I'm sort of stuck with zero motivation. I just compose instrumentals. I don't sing. Whenever anyone is going through a creative block, I recommend that they break out of whatever schedule, habit, ritual that they're in and go do something else. And at the very least, play tourist in your own town. And it doesn't have to be sound related. Like I tell designers, visual designers, to go listen to new music and go watch, go attend music shows all the time. Go watch movies and think about how you would score a movie that was interesting to you. Or maybe you have a favorite movie and you could think about how you would rescore it in a completely new way. Or maybe if you merge two movies together, how would you score that? Or you can go to a new place and go to a museum exhibit and go look at some art, really interesting art. And if someone said, I need you to do music that matches this art, how would that sound? Not to say that that's what you should end up doing, but these are some creative exercises to get your brain going. but to break out of your bubble and play tourist in your own town and run around and do things that you do not do every day. Because if you just keep doing the same things over and over every day, you're not going to break out of the rut that you're in. Hi, Jillian. Yeah, I had a lot of doubts in school because I got really sick of looking at the same garment. I just like to turn out ideas. I also like being in it too. My brain works really fast, and what I would really like to do is to have a sampling team to in-house. Like I want them to come in for like a few hours every day so that we can just crank out and make stuff in my studio, or I could go to their studio, whatever. And so we're just making stuff for a few hours every day. Because I am too slow of a pattern maker. Like I was a working designer, and that means I didn't do my own patterns, and I didn't do, I didn't sew a lot of my own samples. I did when I had my own brand, but, like half and half. I did half my own patterns. And so I'm not as fast as at constructing samples as I am other things. So I would want like a team to come in and just start making the things that I'm thinking about while I do some other things that are also related to making things, like sourcing fabrics and figuring out like the exact design details and like finessing a flat to make it clearer for my pattern maker and, things like that, like the things that designers do. Because as a working designer, like doing all the things is not super appealing to me. But knowing how to do all those things makes me a better designer. So don't get any weird ideas about not studying things. Gabrielle says, I started a white button-up shirt in 2023. Something went wrong and I haven't touched it until last month, only to realize I lost a cuff. I'll try again in 2027. That's the most relatable story. How many fashion makers can relate to that story? Like, that is the most relatable freaking story ever, especially when it's something for yourself. Like stuff you make for yourself always ends up being the lowest priority and just like the least interesting sometimes. Like, Rachel says, lol, I have the same problem with starting projects and getting fed up with them halfway through. Gallo says, that's the challenge for us more seasoned creatives. Documenting the process while creating is still not used to it myself. For real, though. For real. Especially if you make tangible product, you don't do progress reports because the product is the progress. Like your boss wants you to know, like, oh, where are we on this? You just show them what you did, not a report on what you did, which is kind of what making content kind of feels like. You don't need to prove to your boss you worked on a thing. You just show them what the sample looks like right now. It's like it's half sewn right now. It's a finished pattern right now. It's like, yeah. Gabrielle says, now I set the timeline to make sure I can finish ASAP. If not, I don't bother. Oh, yeah. Gallo says, just make sure if you have multiple channels that they each have their own email associated with it. Yeah, they do. Lori says, you have so many hours of old videos people can watch. There are some I have watched numerous times. Yeah, go watch those so that I can make the ad money so I could buy more fabric. Ellen says, I'm listening. Elazar says, separation of church and state. That's random. Okay. Gallo says, it's therapeutic on this end to appreciate you. Thank you. Appreciate you all. Mom's bedtime story. I want to add my 2 cents for what it's worth. I would like you to know that you should give yourself permission to finish your tank or not. You know what? I appreciate that. Thank you. I appreciate that very much. Mom's bedtime story. We want you, the real Zoe, and we don't need a stressed out, push the limit Zoe that is resentful of putting out videos for us. Not good. Thanks, Mom's bedtime story. I remember your username. You always write me the most encouraging comments, too. So I really appreciate you. Thank you. Gabrielle, long live cats. I know, right? Mom's bedtime story. I'm so sorry for your loss. My dad died a long time ago. I miss him every day. F cancer. F cancer. Yeah. Natasha says, I have the same incognito dream, just doing what you love without the BS that comes with it. I just want to learn more stuff. There is this program where you go to the middle of the countryside of Ireland, and this tailor teaches you how to make a tailored jacket from scratch. And you stay at their studio. They have these little dorms. They take like a teeny tiny class at a time. And you stay there for 6 weeks in the dorms, and you just painstakingly hand stitch this blazer from this tailored jacket from scratch. And I kind of want to go and just go off the grid for 6 weeks and just be in Ireland making this jacket. Yeah. So, Sarthak says, what's the best thing you want to do in life? That's kind of the question right now. Okay. Gallo says, look at Kandinsky and music. I usually work with music when I create. Music is a lifeline. Which is so funny because I really like working in dead silence. Like when I'm cooking, writing emails, like doing administrative tasks and stuff, I love background noise. But when I'm like really designing, I don't want to hear nothing. I even close all the windows. I don't even like hearing like air outside. that's just me personally. JY hi, Francis, hey, can you do a detailed review video on Alexander McQueen's work? You know, there are so much stuff out there on McQueen, and I I respect him as a designer, absolutely, but to make content on McQueen seems a little bit repetitious. Like there's just so much content out there already. People love to talk about McQueen, rightfully so, but there's documentaries, actually, documentaries, even if his name is not on the documentary, like anything that has to do with British design, the 90s, early 2000s, like European fashion, turn of the century, like all that stuff will heavily feature McQueen. The fashionistas on YouTube who do a lot of these reviews and critiques and deep dives of brands, they love talking about McQueen. Like there's so much out there already. So, okay, people are really encouraging this. Do Junya Watanabe. I think, hold on. I mean, I'm not a huge Junya fan, but I'm more likely to do it just because it's like there's not already so much stuff out there. Natasha, do it. Go to Ireland. Lori says hire pattern drafter, should be plenty in LA. I know, right? Yeah. So lots to think about. It's fun to think about it, but also it's like kind of like not fun to think about. I just want to figure myself out. Like I just want to know what is the right answer for me. There's so many things I enjoy doing and love learning about, and so few hours in the day. So I'm just trying to figure out what's the most important. Like somebody earlier asked me, like, what's your most favorite? I don't know yet. That's like the crux of what it is. So, yeah. Natasha says, follow your heart and instincts because your brain knows best. Yeah, well, they're all going in separate directions. Everyone's going in different directions. I don't know if you go to Ireland, Trump may F up that area too. Listen, the world is all on fire. It's all on fire. Hi, Janice, um, who shows up as I'm leaving. I've been live for 70 minutes, over an hour. Like these get longer every week. It's kind of crazy, but I think that's what happens when you work alone. Is once a conversation starts, I just get super super chatty. But anyway, follow the money, okay? Like figure out like the key. Going back to our original topic is find out what you're getting charged for. The thing I liked about this person and like the assessment they got is it really like put prices on every single step. Like how much for a tech pack, how much for sourcing, how much for a size chart creation, how much for a sample, how much for someone to write, to draw a flat, how much to, do a print development. Like the thing I liked about it is itemized. That's the word I was looking for. It's itemized. Okay. So when you talk to factories and they say, oh, it's going to be $5,000, tell them, what does that even mean? You want a list of everything that $5,000 includes and how much is like goes to what, you want an itemized like that. I always encourage people to shop around, ask for pricing for the exact same thing of multiple factories so you can kind of assess like because it's hard for me to be like, oh, that seems fair because I have to know your product. And I have to know where you are with your product. Like, oh, I made a pattern at home. Oh, I don't know anything. Like all that stuff. And so get an itemized list. Figure out what you're paying for, what you're not paying for, and what you're entitled to at the end of it. Like what level of ownership you have of the things that you pay for, so that if you choose to not work with this factory anymore, what can you walk away with? Can you walk away with the print design? Can you walk away with the pattern? Like, are you going to have the samples? Like, are you going to have all these things? Like, you get to own those things because you already paid for them. Or like the client example I gave you before, they're like, oh, you don't have to pay for this and you don't have to pay for that, which means you don't get to own any of the development, none of the notes. Like, you only just get the blouses, right? So follow the money, figure out who gets paid. Figure out what you're paying for, because that means you're the customer. We none of us want to pay for stuff, but he who pays the most money is the one who gets the loudest voice. Period. That's just capitalism. I'm sorry. I don't like it either, but that is what it is. So be careful when you're negotiating these contracts. Always get multiple quotes on anything so that you get some assessment of fairness. And if one sticks out like, oh, this one is so expensive, ask them straight up why. You actually might like their answer. It might turn out that the most expensive one is the one you decide to go for because the package that they are providing, the quality that they're providing is so much better. Okay, cheaper is not better, but it should not be 5,000, 6,000, 6,500, 12,000. Like for the same thing. That's crazy, okay? But the more, okay, and I can elaborate this in a future live, but the longer I do this and the longer I stay in the industry and the more I observe people, the key to success is the ability to speak up. Okay? And I see this time and time again. When I look at who of my former students are succeeding in the fashion industry, it is the students who knew how to speak up, who knew how to ask questions, who weren't always afraid to look stupid in front of other people, who knew to respectfully challenge me when they're like, why did I get this grade? You know, not to be a jerk, but but the ones who are able to speak up. And it doesn't matter if you're an introvert or an extrovert or, what your personality, like the ones who are able to speak up, they are the ones who are thriving. So speak up, ask your questions, do it respectfully, follow the money. All right. So I'm going to close out today. Thank you so much for joining me for 75 minutes of me yapping. All right. Have an amazing rest of your week, and I will see you soon. Bye.